Hey guys, welcome to this channel. Today, let's review The Living Daylights. What is the deal with my bed? It is very crooked. Yeah, but before we get started, I have one thing to mention is that I'll be doing some new things on the channel when I get back. Like I'll be doing some Fortnite videos, some gaming. I want to do this video with my sister. She plays Fortnite. We'll see how that goes. But like yeah, I might take like a few days off, like maybe like 2 or 3 to kind of figure out what I want to do after a break. Like I might get some of those videos out, that I might plan potentially. But other than that, let's just get started with the review. You know what the movie's about? Living Daylights is about Dalton trying to get the sniper. I don't know, it's a bit complicated and it's very hard to explain. I cannot explain this movie in a sentence. And, I mean, I guess it's about Bond with this girl who's a KGB. It's a very complicated film and kind of confusing at times, so I'm not going to explain what it's about. Because it's very hard to. I think it's one of the more complex Bond movies. Now we have the good, and the good is the action. I mean, the action here, I think actually is pretty good. I think this might be some of the best action of the entire series. Like, there's 2 sequences that really stand out. And that's the car chase and the car chase with the Aston Martin and the plane fight. Also, the pre-title sequence and some of the sequences with the Afghans are pretty cool too. And I mean, the action here, I think honestly, to be honest, in general, this is John Glen's best directed Bond movie by far. The only one that even comes close is For Your Eyes Only, then Octopus. I think honestly, this is by far his best directed one. Like, it looks pretty cool. The issue with License to Kill is that, same with the Video Kill, like, not quite as much, but it's so, like, it just feels so cheap. This movie feels so glossy. I prefer the cheap film. You'll see why when I review it, which will be after I come out, which won't be for a couple weeks. But yeah, I mean, I think the action here is great. But I mean, I at least like every sequence, maybe except for the end sequence with the bombs. I don't know, and with the tray table, not the bomb, with the black machine gun bulletproof thing. I don't know what to call it, but I mean, it works. Then you have Dalton. I think Dalton is good in both of his movies. He's better in License to Kill. I think the nice thing about him being in 2 movies, I can draw a lot of comparisons to both of them. And I do think his performance is better in License to Kill. Yeah, I like Dalton. Even though I do, because I'll tell you why I think he's better in License to Kill. Because I'll tell you here and not in that review, because I'd rather do it here, because I'm probably going to forget. And that this movie still kind of feels like it was cut from the. It feels still like it was cut from the Roger Moore. I feel like honestly, Roger Moore should have done Moonraker, then go to Octopussy, and then Dalton should have been handed For Your Eyes Only, and Moonraker, not Moonraker, Video Kill. But yeah, I mean, we're good. I think Dalton's pretty good here. It's just, I think they make the most of him in his second film. And I'll talk about some of the stuff that makes License to Kill better today than it might have done back in the late 80s. Now you have the more serious tone. This movie, I like how it goes for a more serious tone. It's a very nice change of pace after the past 2 Roger Moore movies, A View to a Kill and Octopussy, which are just him being a gentleman the whole time. This movie, you kind of see Bond going kind of a phase of his life where he's like, okay, I'm getting the drift. I think, honestly, more so than I think you should watch this one after after License to Kill. And that's because it deals with the Cold War, and so is Octopussy. And License to Kill draws some ties to Tracy. This movie doesn't, so yeah. And I don't think it takes place before, because it's a Cold War movie. And License to Kill took place around that time. And GoldenEye takes place after the Cold War, so that wouldn't make any sense. Anyway, let's move on. I'm not going to talk about chronology right now. But the more serious tone is a very nice change of pace. And it is a nice change of pace, which is the next thing I found good. Okay, I just talked about that. Now you have a more physical Bond. I think the best thing about Dalton is that he's a more physical. He's probably by far the most physical Bond we've had so far. The only one that comes close is Lazenby. But in what he does in both of his movies, like I heard that there was a story that he wanted to do his own stunts at one point during the pre-title, and then I heard they're like, "No, Tim, you can't do it." But yeah. I mean, I just think having a more physical Bond. I think honestly, it works better in this movie than it did in License to Kill because he just looks so cool in some scenes, especially the sniper scene, which Roger Moore can be like, "Hey, we'll play it again, Sam," like he said in Moonraker. But yeah, I just enjoy this movie so much, and I mean, I just enjoy the fact that there is physical Bond. And yeah. Now you have the plot itself. I think it is a bit confusing. I'll get to that in the mixed. But I think the plot itself involving the smuggling and the twists and turns, it works as a film, but not as a Bond movie. A leading Bond movie. This one, I think I did mention this in my View to Kill review. If this wasn't in the Bond series, I think it could be remembered as one of the last great Cold War movies. But as a Bond movie, it's a bit odd. But as a Cold War movie, it probably is the best as a straight Cold War movie in the entire series. Because it's not really a spy thriller, and it's not really like a big bombastic action movie like Tomorrow Never Dies. But it's a pretty simple like Cold Wars. It's a pretty complex Cold War story that's a bit odd in the Bond series. I think both these movies don't quite fit the Bond series. But License to Kill, it does. I mean, it's different and it's cool. I mean, it's more of an 80s action movie than a Bond movie. But I think the 80s action movie fits better than the 100% Cold War movie. But anyway, I'm not going to keep talking about that. Now we have the mixed stuff. I did mention this when I talked about Dawn, but it still does feel like it still does feel kind of like a Roger Moore one. Like, License to Kill, I don't know what they would have done with any other Bond actor, except for maybe Craig, but I don't know what they would have done. This movie, it could have had, there's 4 other actors. This one kind of had really any of the Bond actors, except for Craig. Because you can have, Moore actually would work in this movie, except it would be a little weird. And then Connery would definitely work in this movie very well. Because it seems like Dawn's kind of trying to get Connery in this movie. Kind of like Roger Moore did in The Man with the Golden Gun. But it actually works in this movie. Then you also have... Brosnan could have definitely done this movie. Except it would kind of lean into more Roger Moore. But I think Dalton does fit the physicality. That's the reason why he's perfect for some of the Bond movies. Because he's by far the most physical Bond. I already mentioned that. Like, I think the nice thing about Brosnan is that he kind of brings traits from every single Bond except for Craig. He kind of has the vulnerability and like emotional ties to Lazenby, especially when we look at The World Is Not Enough. And then he has the kind of campiness from Moore. Not quite as much, which is nice, but just enough like that it works. Like, I think he's just as campy as Moore pre-Moonraker, at least for the most part. I mean, at the end of the day, we can just forget about that movie. But overall, I do think that Roger Moore is pretty good. But it could have fit, Dawn's good, but it could have fit any other. Maybe not, actually, now that I think about it, it would not have fit Lazenby. But anyway, let's move on. Now you have the confusion. This movie is pretty confusing. I mean, it's a confusing movie. I'm always confused when, I think honestly, on more watches, it's been helping me a bit, but it's still a pretty confusing movie for the most part. But it's still a good movie. Now you have I think the Bond girl. Actually, I'm gonna put that in the bag. But so now, and the final thing in the mixed stuff is gonna be the middle third of the film is very slow. It kind of drags. I think honestly, everything maybe from the cello, everything from the meet from Whitaker and Tangier with Pushkin, and everything between that and the scene where Pushkin's murdered, supposedly by Bond. I think between that, the movie just drags so much. They're focusing on the relationship between Kara and Bond, which honestly, she's one of the worst Bond girls, which I'll talk about her later. It's just kind of slow and sluggish. And yeah. Now we have the bad. The bat, oh my god, I really don't like the Bongo. Carmelovi is probably my least favorite Bongo. There's only two I think maybe be here for the words. Domino Devourer from Thunderbolts. I find her just so boring. And then and then Stacy's son from Vito Kill. Yeah, Tanya Roberts. Actually, although none of them are bad really. I mean, yeah, Denise Richards is not there. I bet she's saying, "Hey guys, I'm hired." But anyway, yeah, I think at least I do think Tanya Roberts is kind of fun sometimes, and I can enjoy her. But Kara, I think especially near the end, I find her so annoying. She's the most stubborn Bond girl of them all. Like at least, I mean, Goodnight was actually kind of funny, and she did fit the movie. But she kind of ruined what could have been a great Bond girl. She was so good at first, but after the prison break scene. After the scene with the cello, I'm like, I can't deal with her because I really liked her as the cello girl, and I think honestly she was better when she was building the relationship scenes with Bond. But once she gets the cello, and she's so stubborn about it, it's just kind of annoying. I mean, you did get a cool cello kiss escape, but still, yeah, didn't really like her. Next up is the villains. Oh, I really don't like Whitaker and Koskov. I find them. They're both terrible villains. Actually, I don't hate Koskov. I hate Whitaker. He's just such a bad villain. He's so tacked on. They didn't need him. Just Koskov would do. Or they could just do Necros as the main villain, because he could hold it up. But just Whitaker, I just didn't like that idea. And Pushkin should have been Gogol. I think most people can agree with that. But anyway, Koskov, he's a fine villain. I think the actor does a decently good job. I hate how he's like, Bond, you're my hero. It just annoys me, especially in the dinner table scene or lunch table. I don't even know. It just annoys me at times, but he's fine. Nothing much about him that I say is good or bad. He's just mediocre. Yeah, that concludes this review. So for this movie's final score, I'm going to give it a 7.6 out of 10. It's pretty good. I think it honestly, it's probably like halfway up my list. I think it's actually, even though I kind of picked on it a bit, I think it's still a pretty great movie. It's not one I normally come back to because it's not as fun as some others, or not as like enjoyable as others. Like I'd much rather, like even some of the lower ones, like I think I'd actually rather watch a Vito Kill over this. I'd rather watch Moonraker, maybe For Your Eyes Only, or even Die Another Day. Just so bad. But like, I still enjoy this movie. So I think it's a good movie right here. So I think 7.6 is fair. I think I might go down to like a 7.3 or 4. I don't know what I give a Vito Kill. It doesn't matter. But I think this is a good movie. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below. I'm trying to stop myself from doing that. And I'll see you guys next time. Adios.